evening. It is now 7:05, and I'd like to bring the Inland Wetlands Commission meeting of Tuesday, January 12th, 2016 to order. The first item on the agenda is roll call.
Charlie Over, Commissioner.
Ron Tillin, Commissioner.
Pete Rickard, Commissioner.
Fran Morano, Commissioner.
Diane Aaron, Recording Secretary.
Monty Bucks, Wetlands Agent.
Next, action on minutes of previous meetings. First, the minutes of the December 8th Inland Wetland regular meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, the minutes of the January 6th, 2016 Inland Wetland Commission special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
Discussion, yes. Item B says public hearing, blah, 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 blah. It says some exhibits and evidence were entered into the record. I had an opportunity, I spoke with Marla today, and I want to make sure that I can review those exhibits.
I'll talk about that when we get to the Wetlands Agent.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to citizens' comments pertaining to agenda items, but that would not include the application that was under consideration in the special meeting. Brings us to applications. First, WAA 15019 of Leo Balancho, 653 Aquatic Town Farm Road, Assessors map 160, block 11, lot 17, removal and replacement of mobile home with minor grading in the upper review area.
There's no action on this because we have not received any application for the District Department now.
Next is IWA 15025, River Junction Estates LLC, to alter inland wetlands and water courses and perform work in an upland review area for the construction of a driveway on a property identified by the town tax assessor's records as 0 New Road, Assessors map 154, block 3, lot 2A, previously identified in the tax assessor's records as Star Road to Rhode Island state line, map 154, block 3, lot 7A.
Marla Butt speaking. I have for you a calendar, because the question was, when could you reconvene this proceeding? And Mr. Ross, I believe you are entitled to a copy. I already gave one to Mr. Pimentel.
Thank you.
What this calendar tries to do is to show you the timeframes for two applications. The first one being the one that went to, anybody else wants a copy of it? There's a copy here for anybody else if they want it. Hearing on application IWA 1525 convened on the 6th, and by statute it's required to be completed within 35 days, which would take it to the 9th of February, unless granted an extension. The subsequent application, IWA 1529, which was received on December 8th, has 65 days with which to convene a public hearing, and that 65th day ends on the 10th. I have checked with the attorneys for the applicant and the intervener and Attorney St. Ange, and they all are available for the evenings of February 3rd, 10th, and 17th.
They all are available?
They are available. Unfortunately, due to the untimely passing of Bob Messier, who passed away the day after the public hearing was held, Mr. Rawson may want to have some input as to the timing for the hearing and also the subsequent hearing. So perhaps he can come up and tell you if he has any need for any additional time or what date is appropriate for him.
Thank you. say we haven't had time to look at the schedules and understatement. The funerals today, Dave Simler bought the business second to the last day of 2015. I have not been able to speak with him yet. I don't know whether he'll be able to step in as a witness, as the expert on the second public hearing. I did speak with my attorney. He said that on the public hearing that was opened on the 6th, that Bob had already testified that we could definitely continue with that one because we don't need any surveyor's testimony any further. But as far as going forward with the other one, I can't really say when I can get an answer from them when they'll be ready. So, sorry, I can't help you with that.
So I have provided to, Mr. Rawson, letters of extension that, would grant, the applicant is entitled to a total of 35 days in addition to the original 35 days to complete the hearing. I have given him a draft letter that would extend it out an additional 15 days, which would take it to the 25th of February. I did it at 15 days because then I only have to do is add 30 days, and it gets the sum total of the 35 days that's entitled to the extension. So the extensions could travel out another 30 days if the maximum date would have been March 24th would be the date that the hearing would ultimately have to be completed on, if he so granted those extensions for the first application.
This is 2/5, right?
That's 2/4, right. March 24th.
No, the application.
Oh, yes, 2/5, yep. Excuse me, it goes to the 25th, not the 24th.
The 23rd, 29th,
Marlo?
For 25, I'm talking about for 25, it's a
Okay.
total of an additional 35 days could carry you out to March 25th,
Okay.
okay? For the first hearing, for IWA 1525.
Right.
That's the max date that the statute allows, providing he gives the granting of those extensions.
Mhm.
I think that one is and received the last extension.
That was for holding the hearing, this is
Oh,
for
okay.
completing the hearing.
Oh, all right.
So the way it works is you have 65 days to hold the hearing. You can get up to an additional 65 days granted by the applicant. So you get a total of 130 potentially. Once the hearing is convened, you're required to complete it within 35 days unless granted extensions by the applicant, and you can get a total of 35 days. So that gives you a total of 70 days from the time the hearing is first convened.
I have a question. If I'm reading this correctly, unless we can conclude this by February 9th, we would have to have an extension on both applications in order to reach that March date that you talked about.
No, just the 25th one, because if you have on the 10th, you could still hold the hearing on application IWA 1529.
And then that's when,
And that's when that ends, is on
okay.
the 10th.
And
The rooms are available also.
the rooms are available and all of the interested parties,
All the attorneys are.
all the attorneys are available on the 3rd. I'd make a motion that we continue this hearing on the 3rd with the proviso that we look at the application for the work that is to be done on the roadway first. Is that the 10:25?
What about what
No.
Mr. Russell just said about his needs?
Pardon?
What about what Mr. Rawson said about his needs? If we're gonna consider the road,
He,
he,
Road takes longer,
yeah, the road's gonna take longer because he will have to have another surveyor.
road is more complex.
Yeah. So with an extension, we have until sometime in March for 25,
if you so grants it,
if who grants it.
Mr. Ross.
But if he grants the extension, do we also have to grant him an extension on the second permit?
No, you don't,
The-
you don't do any granting, it's
He's
the
the permitting.
applicant that
Okay,
grants the
okay, the
time
yellow
extensions.
highlight, according to what I'm reading, the yellow highlight says that that permit, the first permit, as is now, would need to be resolved by the 9th,
No,
and
the
second
hearing
one
needs to be completed by the 9th.
by the 9th.
The yellow, which is the later application, the hearing has to be convened the first time by the 10th.
Oh, I see, I see.
And if-
Okay.
and
I'm
if
sorry, I
the-
didn't follow that until you.
The applicant grants an extension, the first hearing could go into March, the 25th of March
Up
being,
to-
up to the
up to-
25th of March.
So that means then that theoretically, on the 9th, we'd have all the answers, including the untimely vacancy that Mr. Messiers has,
We don't know
Absolutely.
that, he doesn't know that, is what he just said.
well, I'm saying a month from now, you should have time to be able to resolve that with his surveyors. We should be able to,
That will be 3 weeks.
on the 9th?
No, I only have hearing dates available for the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th.
I understand that, but the 9th is our regular meeting for February.
Yes, that's
So
correct.
if we haven't heard anything back by our regular meeting in February, we can still take action on accepting his permit to extend the timeline.
Makes sense.
Because it appears that we don't have enough information to make a decision then, or till. That's why I was looking at as far out as I could see for.
So we have one more meeting before we would have to, and at that point, we would know if it could happen. But we have to place notices.
Understand I have to do legal notices
Yeah.
for the latter application, the one that's more complicated, regarding Star Trail, Star Road. Those have to be put out, they only get published on Friday, so you see the X's on that? Okay, those X's go for the 3rd. So that if you held it on the 10th, I'd have to move the legal notices to the 29th and the 5th.
Understood.
And if,
Consequently, though, if we don't make a decision on when we want to continue these hearings until the 9th, then you could send out a notice on the 12th or the 19th, or whatever date we agree on.
Oh, for if it goes into March?
Yeah, if it has to go into March, and that's what I'm getting the impression that it might, because we can't schedule it tonight. Apparently. I was all set to try to schedule it for the 3rd, and then I was reminded that the difficulties from the applicant bear into this. Okay, so let's revisit this on the 9th at our regular meeting, and we'll have all the information together to make a decision and post public notices and do all that kind of good stuff. We can't do it without it. Unless we do it informally between now and then.
Well, in order for us to do that, the applicant would have to fill out the extension.
grant an extension.
Yes, he would have to.
Right.
And
If he's willing to do that, if he's not willing to grant the extension on the first public hearing of 25, then that has to be completed by the 9th.
Right.
by the 9th.
Right.
So, we'll know on or before the 9th whether or
No,
not.
it has to be completed by the 9th. If he's
Yeah.
not willing to grant you the extension,
Yeah, no,
We have
that's
to
why
have
we
our
have to, we
public
need to know.
Completed,
yes,
And
on
a
the first one.
continuation.
Right, on the
Okay.
25th,
You
On
can
number
schedule
20.
a continuation for
on the first application.
the first
The
application.
second application.
15025, we
He
can
needs
Hasn't
to
even
more
been
time on.
convened yet. Right.
Exactly.
So-
15029, we
And
need an
he indicated that the surveying portion of the presentation was complete, or according to his lawyer,
On the first
on
one.
the first one.
And one you've already had the public hearing on.
Yes,
Sorry,
and not the other one.
correct.
But they are interconnected. And if we discuss one and then the other at the same public meeting, we can do that. We can discuss one, we can,
We could open the hearing on the other, and depending on where we're at, continue it.
mhm.
That's up, the commission should consider that as an option.
That's the only way we can do it in the timeline. We would have to target the third. And
Marla, I have a question for you. If March 25th would be the deadline if he wanted another extension. For 29, which hasn't been opened yet, is there a similar?
You'd have much longer time because you haven't even opened that hearing.
Right.
You'd have a statutorily a potential maximum of 70 days,
Right. And we haven't even
but
opened.
legally you have 35 automatically. And once you've opened it, so you could open it and recess it to a later date, should he not have his surveyor information on board at that point in time, and you could get potentially another, you would have 35 days with which to complete that hearing without asking for an extension. So what you could potentially do without getting any extensions is convene the IWA 1525, which is the first one that's already had the hearing opened,
Mhm,
convene it on the 3rd,
mhm.
and also, then you could complete that, and then you could open the 1529
Right.
and find out whether or not he can present his case, and if he can't, you can always continue it. You have up to 35 days to continue without requiring an extension.
And is it impossible for us to look at those the other way around? Look at the,
The only danger that you run
Number
is
29
if the hearing on IWA 1529 takes a long period of time, then you may not be able to get that completed and close out also IWA 1025,
Unless he asks for an
grants an
extension.
extension. You
Which-
potentially
which could
could,
be
you
done.
potentially could do that, but right now you don't know how long the latter application on Stowe Road is going to take.
correct, I don't.
And you're not under the timeline, the time gun as you are on the first one.
Clock is ticking on 15025.
Right.
But if on the third, I understand that the clock is ticking on that, I still find them so much interconnected that I would like to not necessarily try to combine them back into one application again, but to look at the applications in a way that flows downhill. So if that's not fixed, then this is a problem, then,
The only way I
Don't
can
know
see
that.
that happening would be if the
You're
applicant,
jumping to a conclusion, you don't
Right.
know that.
if the applicant granted an extension for 25, it would take it up to the March 24th, 25th date. And we opened the public hearing on the 3rd for the other one, and then continued it. There might be more information. But really, this is something the commission needs to make a decision about.
For myself, on the 2/5, the 3, the 10, and the 17th of February is doable, is how I'm understanding all this, from my perspective.
That's correct.
it's doable. but-
Except with
It's-
extensions.
Yeah,
Correct.
The 10th, you have to have an extension for 25, and the 17th, you have to have an extension on both of them. And I had drafted letters from Mr. Rawson for extensions that, for both of them, that take them out an additional 15 days to the 25th and the 26th of February. So potentially, you could have it on the 17th for both, or the 10th if you get the extensions. You have to ask him if he's willing to grant those.
Mr. Rawson, are you able to make any kind of, yeah, tonight, yeah. Maybe.
I wish I had that information, because what I would have talking to them, I don't know when they would be prepared.
I understand.
I hate to see the public hearing on the second one opened, and them not be able to provide the information within that timeline.
Right. Now, it says that the deadline for the first one is the 9th.
To complete the public hearing
Complete the public hearing, can you
without
complete?
extension.
Right. And why do you have the 10th?
Those are the dates that are available as,
But that wouldn't be
with
pertained
extension,
to 20, oh, with extension.
with
okay.
extensions.
Okay.
If you see it in white with crosshatches, that means you have to have extension.
You have an extension, but you're still considered within the time frame.
It's allowed by statute,
Okay, all right, so any of those three dates are allowable by statute,
with extension.
with extension for
With
25.
extension, and that's the thing, you know, if the applicant would grant us an extension right now, that clears up half of this logistical juggling that we're doing. If we have to have, convene a public hearing on the second application, independent of the first one, but the third, and the 10th would be times at the extreme end of the timeline, to allow the applicant to get all their information together for us. We do have to have the public notice, that's what confuses things. If we didn't have to have the public notice, we could decide on the 9th.
The only one that you have to have a public notice on is the latter application, 1529, because that has not been convened yet. You do not need a follow-up legal notice for the first application.
We
That's
don't?
already- You
No.
don't. That's already been convened, and you don't need to publish another legal notice for reconvening it to
So
complete
it's
it.
published within a certain time frame.
How do we notify people that are interested that it's going to be reconvened?
The people that came to the public hearing knew that you were going to be deciding tonight when you were going to convene and reconvene. The minutes of tonight will be published on the web. And additionally, any intervener is a party and gets it proper notified via, either snail mail, US mail or email.
And it's posted in the town hall, isn't it, and on the website?
All the meetings are posted out front of the town clerk's office too.
And they can pick up the phone and call Marla and ask her.
If I remember online. I don't know, I'm still finding myself,
I make a motion to the group that we have a special meeting on February 3rd for IWA 5025 before the end runs out, and we could determine the other one at that time or prior to it, whatever we do.
I second that motion.
Could you repeat the motion, please?
The motion was to have the formal public meeting on the 3rd of February.
Continue the hearing?
Yep. For the 15025
On the 3rd, right?
on the 3rd.
And as long as, Marla knows, before the dates that the other would have to be posted.
You haven't rendered a decision on the other one yet, you're doing it just on this one right now, so.
Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Who seconded that?
Ron,
I did.
Thank you.
So that one will reconvene February 3rd. And that, we don't even address that right now, that's not in
do we
this.
need to talk about where it's gonna be?
it will be here,
Okay, yeah, I thought that,
that's the room that I was able to,
we rattled around in that other room.
and what time?
I think that's what you meant, 7 o'clock. That was what
Okay, seven
Okay.
PM, all right. Okay. That brings us on to item 3, which is WAA 15026 of Dennis and Deborah LaMarche.
No change on that, we've received, nothing. Hold on a second. No, we have not received anything from NDDH on this one either.
Okay.
That's the Northeast District Department of Health.
All right, that brings us to IWA 15029, River Junction Estates LLC, Star Road, construction of water diversion 10 Star Road, assessors map 154, block 3, lot NA. Schedule a public hearing. Yes,
If I can help you with this a little, if I can get to speak with somebody there within the next few days and get a date, and when they could be ready, can I get that to Marla?
you can't do that,
Can't do that, okay.
but
So
you
it's
can
gotta
do an
come back to the
extension.
next, gotta come back to another meeting to schedule it, right?
Yes,
Okay.
could it be a special?
So we have to schedule a public hearing 65 days from the
Date of receipt.
8th.
You do always have an option to convene a proceeding and then finding that all the ducks are not in a row, so to speak, that you can always continue it to a later time. So, since Mr. Rawson does not know what the status is and won't know for a little while, it is possible that you could convene it on the 3rd, but if he is not prepared because of the death in the family, you could adjourn it and reconvene it at a later time. And you still could finish processing the other application in the timeline if you needed to. But to do that, I would have to publish a legal notice
The 22nd, and 29th.
on the 22nd and the 29th stating that a public hearing was being convened on the 3rd.
We convene and close it or postpone?
You convene, you potentially could convene it if he said that he wasn't ready at that point in time. You could adjourn the meeting to be reconvened at a later time. You have 35 days from the convening of that proceeding if he's not prepared to deal with it at that point in time.
So I understand that it could be a lengthy discussion. Either of these could result in lengthy discussions, but I'm also interested in resolving this, and I would like to suggest that we put it on the same agenda for the 3rd.
To convene it and assess the status.
Is
And
there a time frame for this building?
I spoke with First Selectman Beausoleil and he said no, because the building can be locked up by others other than custodians, because there are no custodians here.
Does the commission have a time frame, or can they put one on? Do we wanna be here at 1 AM?
oh, you mean a time limit for a given night?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
start at 7 and it goes another 3 hours with the other one, and then you open the new one up, and he's ready to go,
She also has lubricant.
Well, I have to,
you know?
yeah,
Peter, you wanna sleep?
Oh,
No.
That's
okay,
fine.
okay, 12:30.
no. I think that probably we shouldn't go beyond 10.
So what if you don't
And then-
finish with the first one by 10?
Have to be continued.
When we have to
And then you
continue
have
it.
to open the other one up just to continue it?
If it has to be continued, it can be continued on the 9th, which is the regular wetlands meeting, and it'll still be within the timeframes.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not worried about the time frames.
But,
I'm
and,
just
but you would
saying.
wanna, if you had posted the second one, you'd have to open it and then,
Adjourn it to
adjourn it to a
reconvene at a later
reconvene,
time.
right,
Can you open it and then immediately
yes.
You don't have to take
You'd have to
any
take some
information,
information from the applicant explaining why he cannot proceed.
and that's it, wouldn't turn into a
It
big
depends
long.
on what the commission decides they need to do. They're in control of the hearing.
So even if everybody says that they are ready to proceed, but it's all like ticking up to 10 o'clock, you can say, we want to continue this to another day. I can live with that.
Anyone else have?
So were you making a motion to?
The motion's there to include this on the same agenda.
And you are saying to include, to have the hearing open on IWA 1529 on February 3rd, for any special meeting to be convened at 7 o'clock in the Merrill Sine Room. Can you say that, how does it set again? Because I want to make sure that the minutes reflect what exactly it is you want.
I want to convene the public hearing for IWA 15029 at the special hearing on February 3rd. I wanted to include it on the agenda, and we'll make a decision whether we can, review it and come to a conclusion or extend it.
So convene a public hearing on IWA 1529, special meeting to be held
February 3rd, 7 o'clock.
to Merrill Sine Room.
Can I ask a question? Will 25 be completed before 29 is considered?
In the order of the agenda? You're
No.
he's asking the order of the agenda.
It will be on the agenda, but whether or not it's completed depends on whether we run out of time.
So all I'm saying is you'll consider 25 before you even talked about 29.
We will consider 25, but if
Right.
it gets to be 10
Right.
o'clock, we're not
So,
going
so
to.
then you won't talk about 29 at all if 25 is,
If we post that we're going to have it, it will have to be open, but it can be continued.
but it would be after you finished up with
It's
25.
the second item on the agenda.
Right,
So
but-
the first item
Marla,
it might be
He
5
wants
minutes
to
and
know
10
if
or
it's the
whatever.
second item on the agenda.
it will be the second item on the agenda. I can't
Second
say
item.
that 25 will be completed.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second the motion.
Any further discussion?
Before?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Right, that brings us to new applications. First, DEC 15031 of Robert and Carolyn Wurge, 458 Lower Davis Road, Assessors Map 97, Block 43, Lot 5AA, Timber Harvest.
Marla Buck speaking. This is a timber harvest. There's no harvest in the wetlands, but there is some harvest in the upland review area. It's a selective cut, not a clear cut.
Do they need to make any crossings in the wetlands?
No.
I hear a motion, please?
I'll make the motion we approve DEC
Oh, it's on the agenda. Okay. Sorry.
15031, Robert and Carolyn Wurge on Lower Davis Road for timber harvest.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And applications received after agenda was published.
Before,
Yes.
there's one before.
Oh, do I sign it?
Yep. You've done this before.
It said agents. I didn't know if you did.
Oh, sorry. It's okay. This is an application that was received. Was received by the town clerk on Friday, and I received it yesterday in the office, and I believe there was someone here. This is an application by the town of Thompson regarding the Marianapolis sewer line. Recall the horizontal bore that was going underneath the highway got stuck. And so now starts up here on the other side, it goes under the interstate. Got stuck somewhere down here. Might as well come up
Sure,
with
yeah. Kyle Hopper from CLA Engineers, we're the project engineers for this one. Yeah, like Marlo said, we had intended to directionally drill this entire length, coming from the Marianapolis property and tying into the existing sewer that comes around here on Riverside Drive. Unfortunately, they've been unsuccessful as we reach near this box culvert that runs underneath the exit 98 on-ramp, or off-ramp, and the on-ramp to 395 that runs right in here. So what we're proposing is, they keep getting stuck right in this area. We've made several times to this location underneath the off-ramp. So we're looking to redirect the drill, basically underground redirecting and coming off into the shoulder. There's a flat area, grass area up here on the shoulder of the on-ramp 395, and basically terminate the drill right in this location. At that point, what we would need to do is pick it up with an open trench, standard sewer installation.
Right, we had asked for in the past.
Exactly, yes. We were
You're
here.
under 12 already?
I'm sorry?
Have you gone under 12 yet?
We have not, no, we're
You
under,
still
No,
haven't.
you're, you're stuck, yeah.
we're stuck before we get there.
Yeah.
Yep,
Stuck
yep.
under the ramp?
Yep.
Because I noticed that there was a lot of activity on the side of 12.
Yes, we were here last summer, asking, they had been able to get the drill one time, underneath the box culvert and get to this side, right in this area here. Unfortunately, in between restarting and the contractor getting back out there, the drill rods were stuck in the hole and they're unable to retrieve them. So they re-attempted to drill offset from the original one, and they've been unable to hit their target, and they've been getting jammed up and unable to direct the drill head back to that existing crossing where they made it under the box culvert. They've basically been working from August through November trying to get back to that point, have been unsuccessful. So that's why we're here today, to try and get them offset into the shoulder. We know we can get to right about this line right in here, so we're looking for them to be able to stop right in that shoulder. And at that point, from this pit that they would excavate right in here, downstream of the box culvert, we would do an open cut, we'd do a temporary bypass of the culvert, over the top of our trench. The trench would be about 4.5 feet deep, so it would not be excessively deep in front of this culvert.
So your new target is uphill from where the stream cuts through.
Down,
And then we were already talking about having to put in sandbags and whatnot in the storm culvert.
correct. We would sandbag this box culvert and, bypass it, downstream.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now you've got, this is where the trench is now?
That's the existing one right there, correct?
Okay,
Yep.
and you're gonna get that, okay.
Right, yes, exactly. We would go to the other side and that's where we would start the other side, the standard, the regular,
Be able to go through the same.
Yeah,
We-
we
we-
had
So
to
you
stop.
get to here and then you
Yep.
gotta turn.
What we run into is right in this area between, this would be the airline trail coming over the top, right in this area,
they start to get into some ledge rock, and that's a good, it's actually good for them. It gives them a spot to bite and be able to turn direction. So they're thinking they can pull back far enough, and it'll give them the chance to redirect the drill head. And basically, instead of this tighter radius that they were holding here, we'll give them a flatter radius, and the drill rods will actually help them steer it further offline, now on their new line, to this new location in the shoulders over there.
Any comments, Marla?
They brought this proposal in a preliminary form to me, and you're only receiving it at this point, you can't render a decision on it, haven't had really a chance to look at the narrative or anything. The actual work is occurring not on town of Thompson property, but on DOT property. They actually have a permit from the Department of Transportation, authorizing their work, in that area. One of the things I was concerned about when it came in preliminary form was a water handling plan, because this is a live stream. And so, since it's only a short period of time, they were gonna come up with a mechanism by which they would have the water bypass through, not necessarily in a pumping operation, but, in a temporary culvert. So basically, they have to do halfway and have the water be bypassing through a culvert. And then, once that one gets filled in, then you push it back over to the other side. The company that's been doing the work with the, for the sewer line, there were a couple of bust outs of the bentonite, and bentonite can travel really, really good. They were on top of it right away. They've shown themselves to be very responsible when it comes to handling erosion and sediment controls. So while this is a temporary impact, it's increase in the footprint of what was originally authorized, because there was no work in the water course itself under the original permit that was issued. And so I told them they couldn't come for a plan modification, because an increase in the footprint is actually new work and actually needs a permit of its own. So they agreed to come in with a new application for this new work that would be in the water course. And then I'll have a chance to take a look at the water handling plan before the next meeting and give you my comments on that. I don't see, I've seen these happen before, and they can be done very successfully without any real environmental impact. The concern that I have is that if they attempted to continue to go under the box culvert, or even if they tried to go underground, all the way across the water course, the fact that you have a high water table, it seems like every place where the bentonite popped out was where the water table was high. Because there was a pop out in the infield,
Correct.
and there was another pop out, I think, somewhere over here.
It's right in this area here, right on this side of the,
Is that because the
the
water
area
table is
is-
perched on it?
I just think it's because it becomes more mobile. Because, remember, they're under a lot of pressure, because they're coming way down off the hill.
Right.
So as they're drilling, they're using the bentonite, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yep.
as a lubricant kind of like thing. So it has to stay wet, but if it's under a lot of pressure and you've got already a saturated soil condition, it's gonna push right up through those openings in the soil that's already waterlogged and pop out at the top.
Okay.
So you can't really do a horizontal bore under the water course, because if it popped out and the water course was actually flowing, it would take that bentonite right down to the French River.
It will shoot right down, and it's kind of cobbly through here as well, so if they tried to drill through here, there's no guarantee that it would pop out right on top of their drill head. It might daylight further down into the, into those wetlands, and that's something we
That
didn't
wouldn't
wanna
be
risk with the.
Right.
Yes.
So the potential temporary impact that could happen if they do it during low flow period of time, where they have a window period of 3 to 4 days, and you could get a weather forecast 3 or 4 days out, that you're not gonna get any storms, they could successfully do this without really any significant siltation being generated from it.
Absolutely, and we have specified restoration to be witnessed by Marla or our soil scientists to make sure that the stream bed is restored to its natural conditions.
So you just have to receive this application for
All right.
consideration at next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You send me the PDFs of the application drawings so that I could forward them to the commission members if they want it?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Any other applications received? No. And that brings us to permanent extensions and changes.
Can I just, so can I make a motion? Should we say that?
Want a motion to receive?
You said it,
11-09-02 of Strategic Commercial Realty, New Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 3, Lots 2B through 21, regrading the total of 275,000 cubic yards of material in an upland review area.
This is a request, that I received on December tenth, from Jeffrey Dawson. He is the president of Strategic Commercial Realty, Inc. And I'll read the letter to you. On December 13th, 2011, Strategic Commercial Realty, doing business as Rawson Materials, received inland wetlands permit 110902 in association with conducting regulated activities, specifically gravel removal within a 100-foot upland review area. Let me pull out the plans for you so that you can see. It might look familiar to you. This is New Road, Star Road, River Junction Estates. There were 8 lots that were part of an 11-lot subdivision. 8 of them were sold to O&G Industries, and Strategic Commercial Realty obtained a permit from the commission to do the gravel mining. One of the permit conditions was that the permit was valid for 5 years or until December 13th, 2016. As you, and this is in his letter, he states, as you are likely aware, Connecticut General Statute 22A-42A, which were adopted after the receipt of the above referenced permit, provided specific terms for permits. Those permits issued on July 1, 2011 through September 30th, 2012, which applies to inland wetlands permit 11902, are eligible to be extended for a duration of not more than 10 years from the original issuance date. Strategic Commercial Realty received an extension of its zoning permit on 11/23/15 in association with the same excavation contemplated under inland wetlands permit 110902. More specifically, the excavation is ongoing and is anticipated to last well beyond December 13th, 2016, date of expiration. For this reason, please consider this a formal request to extend inland wetlands permit 110902 for an additional 5 years with an expiration date of December 13th, 2021, in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes 22A-42A. Thank you in advance for your consideration, Jeff Russell. There are no timelines for rendering decisions on requests for extension. This permit does not expire until December. You are not required to render a decision on the request for extension this month. You may consider it, take it under advisement, and take a look at the plans. You should take a look at your regulations to see if there's any requirements for extensions. And unfortunately, I didn't have time to do that before you came here, which you may want to do. Because sometimes regulations contain provisions for how you consider extensions, and
Right.
so
But we don't have to decide
you don't have
here
to
and
do it
now.
tonight.
Okay, so we just received this request tonight?
No, you can decide it tonight, but you don't have to decide it tonight. There's no timetables, as far as I know, for as long as the permit is valid.
All right.
Do we know of any changes in conditions?
Well, there have been some changes, but I haven't had a chance to really go out to the
So we
site.
can't really do anything.
Because they've identified, they've
Wait,
identified,
hang it till the
Right.
next meeting, right.
they've identified that they've started the excavation work. And I haven't had a chance to talk to, the zoning enforcement officer, Alvin Hill. I'm presuming that he may have been out there when this was being considered by planning and zoning to find out what his status is on this particular thing. So, I will research that very quickly for you. That's why I gave you a copy of your regulations last month, because I figured it might be useful to have them.
So we're not making an extension at this point, we're just leaving it to be considered after.
You may do that.
We can, we have the option to do that.
Do you need to make a motion on that, or just?
No, you can just
Yeah,
table it till
anyway.
next meeting if you wish.
Yeah, let's table that to the next meeting and give ourselves time
In the
to review through it.
In the meantime, I will research if there's any restrictions or requirements on extensions of permits.
Okay. All right, that brings us to active violations and pending enforcement actions. First is VIOL 14002, issue 12814 to Norman Rosinski, 0 Labby Road, Assessors Map 95, Block 27, Lot 17. Violation of the code until all work is complete on each road.
No change in status.
Any other violations?
No.
That brings us to other business.
We did receive, via mail, December 16, 2015, the 2015 legislative and regulation advisory. And I've handed you out a copy of the advisory as I received it. If you need copies of the public act, I can provide that to you, I can send it to you electronically, but to be honest with you, I think their summary is perfectly fine. I would suggest that rather than spending the time tonight, read it. If you have any questions, when you come back next meeting, you can ask any questions that you have of me of any of the changes.
Those state statutes are easily accessible.
Yes, they are. These are the public acts that might not yet be in the statute yet. These were the ones that were passed this last legislative session. I'm just trying to save time. If you read them and you don't have any questions, then there's no reason to talk.
And what is that, because that's the one here, it's the one agenda, and the business, that's not.
It was in the other,
Other business.
okay, well, they didn't need to act on it anyway, so. Yep. I've just been informed that that was not an item on the agenda for other business, even though it was in the, apparently that got missed when we did it. So I'll put it on for next meeting's agenda. Apologize for that.
This?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Never mind, never mind.
Sorry, it's just to hand it out. Other business. I
So
need
it's
to
more
have
like
some.
correspondence, right?
It's more like correspondence, correct.
Okay.
So should have correspondence with it.
Now, leave it under other business, because that's when I brought it up.
All right. That brings us to reports. First, our budget and expenditures.
On the budget, we have expended 49.5%, which leaves us an available balance of $12,513.73.
Thank you. And that brings us to our wetland agent report.
For the updates on applied geographic parcel updates, Carolyn Wurch has been working diligently on the mismatches, and I've been unavailable to provide her assistance. The Wetlands Commission ordinance, I've got no information about the future handling. I've received no indication from the first selectman as to where he wants to go with it. Reeves Pond Dam, DS 14123 repair. On Friday, December 18th, 2015, I received an email request from Joseph Banchar, I don't know how to pronounce it, Batchin, of Quintessent Country Club, forwarding documents from my review relating to the DEEP dam repair permit for Reems Pond Dam, previously referenced in the 9 November 2015 Wetlands Agent Report. I reviewed the plans and emailed him a reply that I did not find any problem providing that the concrete pour work is timed to occur when flows do not exceed the capacity of the dewatering pumps. The normal water level is given at 148, and the maximum drawdown is to be no lower than that should say 174, plus or minus. Yeah, that's quite a difference, huh? I do have the plans here, I believe. You need to see them. That's kind of strange. These are the plans for the repair. Yeah. This is their pump house. This is, you're looking downstream is in the direction to the west. And this is where the concrete pour is going to be. This is their low-level outlet structure. It's currently sandbagged so that they can pump it down here. And as long as the impoundment is down, if you recall last fall, we got a complaint last summer, and that's because it was drawn down because they were initiating their work on the repairs. But they didn't finish off the concrete work, so they will be expected to be doing that this summer. There were no inspections or follow-up actions. Wetlands agent approval, there was the one that was issued to Christopher and Laurie Nelson for 44 Animal Drive, was, legal notice was published on December 18th and became final on January 2nd. There were no building permits reviewed. Miscellaneous removal of Wheelock Pond Dam in Dudley, Massachusetts. Interesting also. Wheelock, what do you think is there? This is Route 131. Okay. Quinnebog.
So this drains into the Quinnebog.
Yes, this way, either this way. Okay, so, came to my attention that the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection requested the Dudley Conservation Land Trust contact the Thompson Conservation Commission to make sure that it was aware of the proposed removal of Wheelock Pond Dam located east of Center Road in Dudley, Massachusetts. The removal of the dam will result in restoring the former stream channel with the remainder of the pond bottom to be converted to a wet meadow. The project is anticipated to start next summer while the stream is dry, allowing the work to be completed in the dry. A large section of the stream in the pond will be reconstructed prior to receiving stream flows. This water drains into the Quinnebog section of Thompson into a pond formerly known as Jarvis Pond. Following an exchange of emails with Ecotech Inc., a consulting firm working on the project, I requested that I be notified by email when the work is about to begin, with a contact name and phone number to direct any citizens' concerns or complaints should they arise. Purchase requisition status, we paid $20.50 to Chase Graphics for the nameplates for Peter Ricard and Jared Thomas. Yes, that one. That came out of office supplies. And then we paid $154.35 to Stonebridge Press for the 2 legal notices on January 6, 2016 for the public hearing on IWA 15025 River Junction Estates LLC. By the way, there will be a bill sent to River Junction Estates for the payment of the legal notices, so that will be returned back once those are paid, because the applicant is responsible for paying for the legal notices for public hearings.
Thank you. That brings us to correspondence. It's Connecticut Wildlife, September, October magazine.
That was coming after, yeah, here's the.
Of course, it's on.
Oh, it was in the wrong, it
Oh.
says,
So that goes in the right.
yeah, it was the other way around, picked up the wrong one. When you're sick, I don't do so great a job.
I wonder why.
We assumed you were sick when we seen her signature.
Yes.
Uh-oh, Diane's gone.
Yes, it started Thursday. After the public hearing.
And there was a late, that was not put on the agenda, but is also correspondence, is the annual report from Eastern Connecticut Conservation District. It is available online if you wanna look at it. The commission, provides $1,000 worth of support to the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District every year. And that is identifying, if you want, I can send you a link to that.
Please do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's www.conserveconnecticut.org/Eastern.
I'm sure I've seen that in some of the correspondence.
Is that where Judy went?
Yes, that's where Judy Rondo, the former wetlands agent, went.
Is there any more correspondence? All right, that brings us to signing of Mylars.
None.
Comments by commission?
On my part.
Going once? Comments by commission members? Mike? Guess that brings us to item number L.
Move to
Any
adjourn.
letter L?
Second.
All in favor?
Who first?
First was,
Charles, who second?
Marla, you've got a rotten
Ron.
journey, I think. I hope you've got a four-wheel drive.
I do, I have a four-wheel drive Subaru.
Well,
Ron second.
please
Is
take
it
it
bad out
careful.
there right
Time?
now? Is it bad when you're
Time.
going
Four-wheel drive.
onto the roads?
It was bad when I took the route, you know, back in here and so on. Coming down that hill, I
Yeah.
slid a little bit and I'd already engaged lower.
That's going that way, but I think
I'm going home
200.
I'm going home the